Among a million stars, we'll wish up there is ours. Maybe this time it all comes true. I was on my own until that day you came into my world, and it changed everything. Now I'm not alone, and I can see a brand new path. Among a million stars, we'll wish up there is ours. Maybe this time it all comes true. I was on my own until that day you came into my world, and it changed everything. Now I'm not alone, and I can see a brand new path appearing before my eyes, but I can't reach it alone. I need someone to show me the sky, and a voice on the wind tells me that maybe you could lead the way. Among a million stars, I'll wish up there is ours. Maybe this time it all comes true. Whatever comes our way, we'll face it unafraid, and take this world on together.
And welcome to part 3 of the stream. I'm your host, Kincha, the cute and adorable girl, and we finally got a professional second screen going here, so I can actually play the whole intro without having to cut it off. Yeah, woo! So, if you want to go back to it and look at the beautiful artwork, you're welcome to it. I apologize for the 3-minute issue in the beginning. YouTube wanted to be a button and a half. And by them wanting to be a button and a half was it would play the audio, but it wouldn't play the video. Go figure, right? So, we were having some brief issues, but we got them fixed. Thank you, technical support people. Thank you, YouTube. You can go to hell. So, where were we? Uh, yeah, sounds a little bit high. Give me a minute. Let me actually lower that a little bit. I had to adjust it for my cities. Uh, City Skylines videos from the past 2 days. Even though I didn't talk, for those who like City Skylines and just want to see how the right way to build a city, Raptor. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Raptor. Your cities suck. You freaking pleb. You know, feel free to watch the channel. Don't go to Raptor. If you want to see a city that's not efficient, go to Raptor. If you want to see a city that's efficient, that has a lot of cat girls, come visit mine. I got 2 channels, got 2 streams going on there. About 10 hours worth of gameplay. But what do I know? I just build things. So, let's get to the Pink Princess. Pink Princess. Alright.
We've arrived in Basada.
So we've arrived at Basada. So, this is where we will find Emmermist.
No, as I said, it is the closest city to Embermist.
Considering the bustle of this place, I feel it a little hard to believe that the hidden city is so close. No wonder Liana seems so surprised. Amelia seems to have read my thoughts.
Of course, close is a relative term. We must first traverse some rough terrain and pass through the forest before we find Evermist.
Translation, we gotta walk 10,000 miles. She points towards the south where I can make up the tips of treetops, and then she glances up at the sky.
Considering only a few hours remain before nightfall, it may be in our best interest to spend the evening here in the city and depart in the morning.
But we're not gonna depart in the morning. We should depart now. We gotta go do this. We gotta do this. We gotta do it now. By the way, I am very hyper. I have had 4 glazed donuts and a large coffee. So if I'm really, really hyper, it's not my fault. It's your fault. Because as you were, right? And she nods.
Good thinking. This marketplace is so huge. People say you can literally buy your heart's desires here.
But we still can't buy an aircraft carrier and chocolate chip cookies. Is there something you're thinking of buying? Yeah, let's buy an aircraft carrier.
Nothing in particular, but I would like to check out the stalls. Traders from all over the world gather here to sell their wares.
I'm sure they do. Ah! Blobberetto, welcome to the stream. Glance down at my feet and watch Barbaretto wiggle excitedly. He casts hungry looks into the crowd. Is there a lot of magic here? I haven't seen this guy so excited since he first tried to eat me. Amelia bends down and scrutinizes him. She pokes him with the finger and the Pongo giggles.
Boy!
I'm going to the inn. I'll meet up with you later.
He's always going to the inn. I mean, he's always at the inn. He's always drinking. He's always going to the inn. And he has the best jacket. Look at that jacket. Just look at... Don't you just want to have that jacket? Just like walk around with that jacket on. And it's like everyone would be like, hey, I don't want to mess with this guy. He's like too well clothed. It's like the best trench coat look ever. Before any of us can react, Zach zips into the crowd. Should we go after him? Amelia doesn't even blink at Zach's departure. She's too preoccupied with the Pongo. Liana shakes her hand.
No, but since Zach left, I'm going to go too. Should we meet back up at the inn?
Sure, let's go meet back up at the inn. She nods and heads into the crowd. Since everyone else seems to know what they want to do, what do I want to do? So, alright, remember in the last stream I said that you end up dating one of these girls and winning over their heart? So I think this is going to be one of those flag times. So my question to the stream to the chat is, do we want to go shopping with Leanna? She's the blonde-haired knight with the real beautiful artwork in the previous episode. If you want to go catch that out, where she gets to pull her blade out on someone in one slice to someone, go for it. Do we want to see what Miele is up to? Where we have the pink-haired princess. Do we check on Zach or be a loner? We're gonna go with A? Alright, let's go with A. We're gonna go shopping with Leanna. So, I head into the same crowd. I head into the same direction. I think Leanna's gone and I duck into the crowd. Not trying to bump into too many people as I explore the marketplace. I've never seen a place this crowded before. It doesn't feel like I'm working as much as I'm being pushed by everyone. Despite all the people, I'm fascinated by the market stalls. Merchants sell all types of merchandise, ranging from clay pottery to magic amulets. As I'm being pulled through the crowd, I see a glimpse of blonde hair and white armor. That must be Leanna. I wade through the crowd and see Leanna frozen in place. Hey, Leanna! She blinks at me.
Hey!
How's the marketplace so far?
Really interesting. There's a lot of cool stuff I haven't seen before.
She seems distracted.
Do you smell that?
Yeah, it's the rock. I breathe in deeply. I guess we found where the rock's cooking. Smells fruity and sweet. Smells silent but deadly. Smell what? What do we got, guys? We're going fruity and sweet? Okay. An overwhelming sweet smell wafts by in the breeze. There's really no way I couldn't.
I think it's coming from that stall over there. Come on!
She darts back into the crowd and I quickly follow until we stop at a stall filled with delicate glass bottles. Is this perfume?
Yes, welcome, welcome.
A tanned man in silken robes ushers us closer to the stall. He selects a glass bottle filled with a pale pink liquid and offers it to Leanna.
A noble scent to match such a noble woman.
Leanna blushes and delicately sniffs the bottle. Her eyes widen in recognition.
Is that extract of spirit orchid?
The man grins broadly and clasps his hands together.
Yes, yes, very rare, from the far celestial mountains.
I never expected to find this perfume here.
What is it? Leanna offers me the bottle and I take a tentative whiff. It smells fruity, like a cross between an apple and a pear. Is this a flower? She nods.
The spirit orchid. It only grows in the deep forest of the celestial mountain range.
Why is it called the spirit orchid?
The roots are a very pale white. And when it grows, it almost looks like it's floating midair, like a spirit.
That's kind of neat. She nods absentmindedly and continues to hold the bottle. Do you want to get it? Leanna quickly shakes her head.
Oh, sorry. It just reminds me of home. My grandmother used to wear this perfume whenever she left the house. When I was little, that meant taking me down to the market.
She smiles fondly at the memory, but her eyes hold a hint of sadness.
I loved wandering the shops and stalls. It didn't matter if I had nothing to buy. It was a chance to leave the house and be like everyone else.
It sounds like you didn't get to go out much.
It was complicated.
She doesn't offer up any more information and returns the bottle to a blank spot on the shelf. Although she's been very helpful in helping me understand this world, Leanna doesn't talk about her past much. I glance at her again. She looks pensively at the bottle, a small crease in her brow. Suddenly, a new scent cuts through the floral perfume. It smells of cinnamon and spice. Cookies! Hey, Leanna, do you smell that? She jolts out of her thought and blinks.
Smell what?
think it's coming from the stall over there. I grin, and just as she did before, I dart back into the street.
Hey, wait!
We weave through the people before stopping in front of a stall filled with an assortment of baked cookies. I breathe in the heavenly sweetness of sugar and sigh contently. Leanna closes her eyes and inhales.
It smells so delicious!
I browse the array of cookies and tiny cakes. Leanna gasps.
They have cinnamon parfaits. I love those.
What are those?
They're cinnamon and vanilla custard layers with apricots.
Apricots? Who the hell says apricots? It's apricots. It's apricots, not apricots. It's apricots. Jesus Christmas.
What do you think looks good?
Do we go with A, let's try the cinnamon parfaits? Let's do cupcakes, or I don't like sweets? Going with A? Actually, the cinnamon parfait you mentioned sounds really good.
They are. And they're not super sweet either, which is why I like them.
Ah, tell me about it. You know what? I love going into bakeries, but unfortunately, they make their stuff so overly sugared sweet that you eat a cupcake that has like that sickening sweet frosting and you want to vomit. You know what I'm talking about? When you get like this awesomely looking cake at a bakery and you take a bite of the frosting and you just want to vomit it up. I like sweets, but sometimes things can be sickening sweet. I fish in my pocket for my winnings from yesterday. Today's treats are on me. Leanna looks amused.
Are you sure you want to use your life savings?
I chuckle. Don't worry, you've been very generous towards me ever since Meadow Hill. This is the least I can do to repay you. Whoa, we got a gentleman here, guys! We got a gentleman coming on. I know it's not much, but please consider this as my token of appreciation.
Thank you.
I grin, then pay for a cinnamon parfait for Leanna and a dessert for myself. Cheers. I hold up my dessert and take a bite. As the sweetness melts on my tongue, I let out a contented sigh. This is even better than I imagined. Leanna giggles and lets out an equally happy sigh as she bites into her cinnamon parfait.
This is why I love markets.
I nod in agreement as we return to the street. One of the guards in the marketplace notices Leanna's Mage Guild emblem and pulls her over to talk.
Sorry, I need to take this.
Since this looks like official business, I better leave them be. We can catch up later then. She smiles.
Okay.
So, now then, we've checked up on the princess. Now, do we go up again with the pink-haired Vulcan? Or do we check on Zack? Pink-haired Vulcan or Zack? We really? You're choosing Zack over the pink-haired... Okay. Zack went straight to the inn in Illumina, too. What's going on at all these inns? I'd like to know! I rush into the street and look for any signs of the inn. Luckily, I managed to spot Zack in the crowd before he disappears back into the sea of people. Shoving my way down the street, I finally locate the inn just in time to see Zack. He stands in front of a large notice board filled with pinned papers. As I get close out, I can make out some of the flyers, which includes a portrait of a scowling face and a large monetary number. Is Zach checking out wanted posters? Maybe he's looking for a specific bounty. No! He's not checking out wanted posters. Those pieces of paper were the different types of planks you can buy at the inn. And each of them have their own price. Which includes a wham, a bam, and a thank you, ma'am. I'm about to call him out when a young blood wearing a skin-tight suit of armor flounces over to him. Twirling a lock between her fingers, she seems to study the board. Every so often, she shoots pointed glances over to Zach, hoping to catch his eyes. But his attention never wavers from the board. Finally, she speaks.
Do you have a bounty on your heart?
For the first time since her arrival, Zach looks at her. She grins devilishly.
Because I'm looking to collect.
Yep. How did I know? Choose your plank. Here he focuses on the board and she frowns. For her second attempt, she bumps up her ample chest and touches his arm as she speaks in a sickly sweet voice.
So, are you a bounty hunter?
Zach shrugs her arm off of him.
No.
Then you must be a mercenary.
He doesn't answer. She seems to take that as a sign of encouragement, and her sultry smile returns. She leans in close to him and runs her fingers up his arm.
I've got a mission that I could use some help with. Are you for hire?
Again, Zach brushes her hand off of him and steps away from her.
No.
She seems a little taken aback, but quickly recovers and slides closer to him.
Are you sure there isn't something I could offer to change your mind?
Yeah, bring me some chocolate chip cookies.
No.
She sighs before plastering that same smile and lets out a small laugh.
Geez, you're kind of dense. I was hoping to spend some intimate time with you. So, what do you say?
No thanks. But if I'm ever in need of your services, then I'll go find you at the brothel.
Oh! The woman's eyes glow wide like saucers. With a sharp huff, she tries to slap Zach, who sidesteps out of the way. She lets out another huff before storming off. So, what do we do? What do we do? Do we watch her leave, or do we say we might be interested in said services? I just want to see what the response is for said services. Just to see if she's about to pass me, I stop her. Excuse me, he might not be interested in your services, but I certainly am. Again, her face contorts into fury, and she raises her hand. Do we dodge? Do we pause? Or do we freeze? I dip out of the way and her hand harmlessly passes through air. She screams in frustration. I think she's just mad because we completely trolled her.
I am not a prostitute!
Well, the way you're acting, you know... Her voice rings shrilly in the sudden silence of the inn. She glances around in horror as all eyes are on her. Then she buries her face in her hands and races outside, leaving whispered murmurs behind her. Well, that was weird. I go stand beside Zach. Apparently, she's not for hire.
So I heard.
I take a look at the wanted posters on the board. Most of these faces look like the generic weathered and scarred bandits I imagined. Huh? Is this what you had to take care of in 'Zach fixes his expressionless eyes on me. When we first reached Illumina, the first thing you did was find the inn. And then when we come here, you did the exact same thing. He relaxes slightly and nods.
Just staying up to date on the news.
Sounds like the life of the mercenary is pretty interesting.
Something like that.
Excuse me, are you a mercenary?
Oh no! And as one, Zach and I turn to face another scantily dressed woman. This one has fiery red hair and a mischievous glint in her eye. Zach narrows his eyes.
Yes?
Are you sure you're not a rogue? Because you've just stolen my heart.
Ah! God damn it! His eyes are so dreamy because you've stolen my heart. Zach saw. That's not a face palm. That's not a. I mean, that is a good face palm. But it's not like your hand's going through your head. I have a bad feeling about this. Zach ends up shaking her off and searches for the innkeeper to buy a drink. Thank you. Yes, he needs to learn for the ultimate double face palm. Ba 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 da ba. So, what do we do now? Do we see what the pink Vulcan's up to? Or do we be a loner? Pink Vulcan or a loner? We're gonna loan it? We're gonna loan it? Okay. Ready for a little bit of me time. You know what that means. Porn. I head into the crowd and appreciate all the marketplace has to offer. After exploring the city, I meet up with the rest of the group back at the inn. Tensions are high as we eat in silence. I think everyone is a mixture of wariness and anxiety for the next leg of our journey. Well, this is as much as I'd like to see one of those in this game, we gotta keep the game a little bit PG-13. Even Barbaretto is strangely silent and obedient. Once we finish eating, we head upstairs to find her room. Upon finding her room, Leanna suddenly perks up.
Oh, Amelia, you and I will be sharing a room tonight.
Amelia speaks dismissively.
Naturally, that would be more appropriate than the alternative.
She pauses and looks at Leanna with interest. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is there something going on here that... Yeah, whatever.
Are you insinuating that you would rather share a bedroom with them?
Oh! Amelia points to Zach and me.
What? No! Of course not!
Oh, my mistake. Of course you could not have met both of them. There aren't nearly enough beds.
Is she calling her out? Is she calling her out? I'm guessing the Vulcan is calling her out. It's like there aren't enough beds.
You must have meant him.
Amelia points to me. Whoa! Leanna's face turns pink and she shakes her head. Oh my gosh, I didn't notice this last time, but she got the blushing going on.
Amelia, that's not true!
If that is false, then why is your face red?
Oh, she's completely going Vulcan on her.
The point is, I'd obviously rather share a room with you.
Amelia blinks.
If that is the case, then why even bring it up?
Because I'm excited. It'll be nice to have some girl time.
Girl time. Is that like translation for girl on girl or something? I'm sure we could get like a little fanfic going between the two of them. Amelia studies Leanna, then nods.
I concur. Sharing a room has proven to strengthen bonds amidst peers and foster camaraderie.
Her personality is so bland and so her personality is flatter than the cardboard box we picked up in the street in the other game.
You mean make friends?
Precisely.
Leanna grins and Amelia smiles back.
Polly?
We all glance down at the pongo by our feet. It is my imagination, or is he trying to ask us which room he's going to sleep in tonight? Amelia snatches him up in her arms. Oh, I think she's choosing Barbaretto over me.
The Pongo needs to spend the night with us tonight. We need him for science.
Yes, that's how all porn videos start. They need to spend the night with us. We need them for science. Yeah, that's how most pornos start. As Amelia slips into their bedroom, Leanna nods rapidly.
Yes, for science.
I'm sure that's what they really mean, science. Then follows Amelia into the room and slams the door shut. Well, we don't know, 42. We don't know if it does or doesn't. All we've seen was it's in its blob form, but it's a gelatinous mass that can float around. So who knows what it really can do? There's a moment of silence as Zach and I stare at the closed door.
Is it just me, or did that seem unusually suspicious to you?
Yep. Wait. Use me instead? Or is the Pongo? Oh. I shout through it. You can use me for some. What I wouldn't give to be a Pongo right about now. Still baffled by what happened, Zach and I enter our room and get ready for bed. Although the train was more comfortable than expected, it cannot compare to a real bed. As I snuggle into the blankets, I soon drift into a restful slumber. Zach and I awaken at dawn and silently go about preparing for the day. As I grab a few items off my bed, I look over at Zach, who's fiddling with his gun. That guy sure loves his discharger, and a lot of it. I'm sorry. As you were! That guy sure gives his discharger a lot of attention. Can I be taken? We gotta make that into a quote. That guy sure gives his discharger a lot of attention. Needs to be a quote. Needs to be an innuendo. Morning. He glances up and nods.
I'm heading down. Meet me there when you're ready.
Sure. Zack shoulders his pack and leaves. This is probably the quietest morning I've had so far. It's a little strange. I pack up the last of my things and follow Zack downstairs where I can find him waiting alone. Where are Leanna and Amelia? He shrugs.
Still getting ready, I guess.
Okay. That's unusual. Leanna is generally the first one up. I'm guessing the science lesson took a little longer than we think. We wait a couple more minutes before the girls finally show up carrying the Pongo with them. Amelia smiles widely at the Pongo who grins back. Those two seem to be in a good mood. Leanna, on the other hand, looks exhausted. What were they doing last night? Good morning? Or gang's all here, let's go. Hey, Leanna. She masks a yawn.
Morning.
Geez, what happened last night? You look exhausted. Leanna glances at Amelia and the Pongo, then blushes.
As per our last conversation, there was science to be done.
Science in quotes.
Right. Science.
Yeah. Yeah, science.
Boy, boy.
Zack looks just as bewildered as I do. I think I might be better off not knowing. Okay then.
We should move on so we don't lose any daylight.
Zack looks over at Amelia, who rummages through her bag. Eventually she pulls out a map. I glance at the carefully detailed mountains and rivers. Suddenly, I'm missing my GPS.
We will proceed eastward through the forest adjacent to Bazada. From there, we will travel northbound towards the Sonoa Mountains.
Her fingers scroll across the different locations.
Assuming there are no divergences in the course, we should arrive in Ember Mist by midday. Any inquiries?
Mr. Spock, I have an inquiry for you. The Klingons. Are they on the starboard bow? Because they're Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard. I'm sorry, I had to do that. Really sorry, but not sorry. Amelia folds up the map and glances at the rest of us. We all look at each other.
Then let us begin our journey.
She leads the way out of the inn and through the streets of Bazada. Even this early in the morning, the marketplace is still bustling with people. Carefully traversing the streets and alleys, the crowd begins to thin as we reach the city borders. Amelia consults her map, then continues out of the city. Without the high cover of the stalls, I blink at the clear blue sky. In the distance, I can see the dark, leafy cover for trees. That must be where we are going. Once we reach the forest, I'm surprised by how much shade that the leaves provide. The branches are strong and the leaves are thick, exposing pockets of sunshine. Amelia keeps the map on hand as there are no trails. Aside from a few other stragglers exploring the woods, I can hear the scurry of woodland animals. With so much cover and so few people, this will be a perfect opportunity for a bandit ambush. And we all know about those kinds of things. Those kinds of thoughts. You never, ever think about having a bandit ambush you. Because you want to know what happens, you think that, and then it happens. Because when you have bad thoughts, bad things tend to happen. I look towards Zack and Leanna, who both seem unconcerned. I suppose it wouldn't make sense for bandits to hide out in a forest which is mostly devoid of people. We aren't carrying any cargo either, so there's even less of a reason to attack us. The deeper we travel into the woods, the thicker the canopy of leaves become, nearly blocking out all the sunlight. All the other people have long gone, and even the rustle of brushes have become quiet. Wait, let me check something. There we go. The Pongo nestles even deeper into Amelia's arms. Leanna shivers and wraps her arms around herself in a hug. Do we check on Leanna, or do we ignore her? You okay? She seems startled and drops her arms, trying to act normal.
I'm fine.
I know exactly what I'm fine means in Earth English. Or if you say so. Where I come from, when a girl uses those two words together, it means she is not fine. Leanna blinks and lets out a small laugh.
It's nothing really. It's just that the woods are getting darker and darker, and there's a lot more shadows.
Are you afraid of the dark? Leanna shakes her head.
Nothing like that. But really, you don't have to be concerned. It's nothing.
I'm still not convinced, but I'll trust her. Okay. The forest continues to black out even more light. Soon it becomes so dark we can barely see what's in front of us. Oh, look at that. I like that transition. You know, this is when you have a good quality novel, because the transitions are just so perfectly done. Ah, it is quality.
Are you sure we're going the right way?
Shut up, Zach. We know what we're doing. Leanna, where are we going? You don't know? Okay. Amelia pulls a torch out of her bag in response. She touches her fingers to the tip of the torch, and her bracelet glows. Then the torch erupts into flames.
Indeed, there is no need for alarm. The darkness merely indicates we're about to enter the Forest of Sorrows.
The Forest of Sorrows.
Forest of Sorrows?
I'm surprised by Leanna's outburst. Her face is deathly pale.
Do we have to go through here? There must be an alternate route.
Amelia shakes her head.
Ember Mist can only be accessed through these woods.
Leanna groans.
I had a feeling you'd say that.
So this is what was bothering her. What's up with the Forest of Sorrows? I mean, it sounds spooky enough, but is it really that bad?
It is rumored that those who venture into the Forest of Sorrows never come out.
They never come out? She nods.
The reason people are unable to escape is because they hear the voices of the loved ones they have lost. They fruitlessly search for their loved ones, losing their way, chasing the wailing of the spectrals.
No! Amelia, stop! We can travel through this stupid place if we have to, but no more of this story stuff that isn't true and can't be true, so it's not true.
Although Leanna tries to put on a brave front, her voice grows shriller the longer she talks. Right. Amelia nods.
Then let us continue.
I turn to Zach. Do you think all that stuff about the Forest of Sorrows is possible?
It doesn't matter if I think it's possible, because it's the truth.
Zach! Stop!
So under all that armor and all that bravado, she is a good little girly girl. As Leanna turns away, Zack cracks a fleeting smile before resuming his stony stare. The trees have now lost their cozy feel completely and look thick, old, and withered. The eerie silence is deafening, and each crunch of the leaves beneath our feet reminds me of the inevitability of death and decay. I keep seeing flashes of beady eyes peering amid the branches. The squawk of crows pierces the silence, making me jump. Instinctively, I pick up the pace, as does everybody else. Leanna grows increasingly agitated.
Are you sure we're going the right way? I swear that I've seen that.
A cold gust of wind extinguishes the torch. Leanna latches onto my arm and pulls it close to her chest. Her eyes are squeezed shut and she buries her face against me. Quality animation. This is definitely quality. Look at that. The light returns as Amelia relights the torch. Leanna peeps an eye open and glances down at my arm, and where it rests on her chest. Her cheeks burn as hot as the torch, and she quickly drops my arm.
Sorry,
She trails off as her blush deepens. I bet her nerves from the forest and the awkwardness of grabbing me is making her flustered. No, it's not making her flustered. It's making her, what's that term? Sexually frustrated. That's the term we need. She might be more comfortable holding on to me, but that's an equally awkward suggestion. Ooh, here we go. A, B, or C. A, ask if she wants to grab my arm. B, pull her in close. Or whatever, she let go, let's just move on. B it is. I close the difference between us and link arms with her again. Although surprised, she doesn't stop me. Instead, she blushes again. Amelia watches us and cocks her head to the side.
Are you afraid?
Huh?
You're mimicking Leanna's instinctive reach for your arm. Does that mean you too are feeling afraid?
Okay. A, B, or C? A, I'm not scared. I don't need nobody. B, nope, it's just Leanna. Or C, it's okay and normal to feel uneasy at times. C, let's see our way out. There's nothing wrong with that, especially in a place like this. Amelia nods.
Your rationale is valid.
Leanna squeezes my arm a little tighter and smiles.
thanks.
I nod with a warm smile. Anytime. Zack waits impatiently a few paces ahead of us.
Can we move on?
Affirmative.
Fascinating. We all hurry up to catch with Zack and continue through the forest. No wonder people get lost. This place feels like it's endless. Leanna tightens her grip on my arm whenever there's a noise. A crow flies by, and she hides her face in my shoulder. I can feel the warmth rush to my cheeks, and I am grateful for the darkness. This is so out of character for Leanna. I never would have guessed that she gets spooked by ghosts. Gradually, the darkness fades away as the trees are illuminated by an ethereal glow. As the blue and green lights chase away the shadows, my mood begins to lift. The trees still look ancient, but full of wisdom and secrets instead of bad omens. The pongo squirms wildly in Amelia's arms. He wiggles free and hops around in glee. As he hops, he opens his mouth wide, but loses his balance and blinks as he falls on his head. After a few more confused seconds, he shakes himself and tries again. There must be a lot of magic in here.
We have made it through the Forest of Sorrows.
Leanna sighs in relief.
Finally.
She blushes and she lets go of me.
So Ember Mist is close.
A natural concentration of crystal energy would indicate we are on the correct path.
Fascinating. I can't stop but not say that. I mean, whenever she speaks, you just want to say that. The crystals must be what the blue and green glow is from.
What do you mean, on the correct path? Haven't you traveled here before?
Amelia shakes her head.
No, this is my first journey.
You mean you had us travel through the Forest of Sorrows without knowing for sure that it would lead us to Ember Mist?
That is correct.
Leanna gapes at Amelia.
Well, we did make it through. And if we do reach Ember Mist, then she would have delivered on her promise.
Zack nods at Amelia, who looks curiously at him. While deep in thought, it looks like she's reworking a previous analysis of him. Then she nods back. Leanna opens her mouth to argue, but stops.
I suppose it doesn't matter now that we're almost there.
On that conclusion, let us continue.
We trail behind Amelia, the pongo blissfully hopping along as she navigates us out of the rest of the forest. Ember Mist lies just behind the edge of the forest, and soon we approach the heavy gates of a city. Two tanned men with leather armor and carved wooden staves inlaid with rough crystals stand guard. Their staves are crossed, and the light seems to shimmer as it catches the negative space between the staves. Is that some kind of magic?
Please state your business.
As students from the Mage Academy, we seek an audience with Elder Isim.
They look over us, and I shift uncomfortably on their gaze. Their blank eyes seem to burrow deep into my soul. They close their eyes, and the red crystals inlaid their staves glow. The translucent glimmers increase. After a few minutes, they reopen their eyes and remain silent. I glance at Leanna, who looks at me. I whisper, "Are they going to let us in?" She shakes her head uncertainly. Zack crosses his arms, but otherwise doesn't seem bothered by the situation. Amelia stands confidently, and waits patiently. I guess things are going according to her plan. Just when I can no longer bear the silence, a figure steps out from behind the gates. He is an old squirrely man with a set of glasses, which slip down his hooked nose. He wears a faded and wrinkled open robe.
Elder Isim.
Yes? Who is it?
I am Amelia Estelle from the Mage Academy, and these are my associates.
The Mage Academy, you say?
He adjusts the glasses on his nose and peers at Amelia.
Yes.
One by one, he peers at the rest of us. He barely glances at Zack, but looks at Leanna with interest as he recognizes her guild emblem. Finally, his gaze lingers at me, almost as if he's trying to place me but can't.
Well, come on in then. No point in standing around.
The guards break away as he beckons us in, and the translucent shimmer disappears. After we pass through the gates, I look back right before the gates close and see the guards resume their original position. Elder Eastham shuffles along the dirt path and leads us through the quaint village. The villagers tend to wear plain, loose-fitting tunics. Aside from the guards, most people don't carry weapons, although many of them do wear simple bracelets embedded with crystals. We soon arrive at a strangely architecturally stable clay hut. As we enter, I covertly touch the walls. It reminds me of unglazed ceramic tiles. We settle down on wide cushions on the floor.
How were you able to find this place?
Through you.
Eh?
Amelia pulls out a worn tome. Where has she been keeping that this whole time? Probably where all of us girls keep stuff, in our bra. Where's your phone? I don't see my phone. It's in your bra. There it is.
My old research. I thought I'd lost this.
Elder Eastham carefully turns the pages of the tome. Leanna clears her throat.
We were told you can help us.
By whom?
Professor Xavier.
Elder Eastham lets out a loud laugh.
Xavier is a professor now. Good for him. I've been out of touch with Haven Guard and Lumia for many years. I'm not sure how I can help.
Leanna fills him on all that's happened so far, beginning with the spiked energy readings and ending with Professor Xavier's advice. She keeps the story simple and straight to the point, carefully eliminating the fact that I am not from this world. Elder Eastham listens thoughtfully, but grows more excited the longer Leanna talks.
The temporal rifts. It's been so long since I really researched them. I'm afraid I've been rather distracted. Still, someone is here hoping to discuss these theories, and I'm more than happy to talk about them.
He claps his hands excitedly.
Where should we start?
As I'm about to answer, a deep rumble beneath the earth stops me. What was that?
Oh, just the volcano. Nothing to worry about.
Okay. A, B, or C? A, I trust you. B, that's what they said about Pompeii. Or C, rip us. The last time someone said nothing to worry about in regards to the volcano, their entire city was burned to ash. Leanna's eyes are wide and aghast. It's not all bad. It was basically all intact when the city was rediscovered thousands of years later. That is harsh. She doesn't look any less uneasy.
There's no need to look so concerned. The volcano will not erupt. This is the first sign of activity it has shown in thousands of years.
Isn't that concerning?
Perhaps if it were any other volcano, but this particular volcano is in the domain of the fire elemental who protects us all.
This fire elemental of which you speak, are you referencing the ancients?
Precisely.
Zack crosses his arms.
The ancients are only a story.
Who are the ancients? The ancients are the people who abandoned the Atlantis. And then, they came to Earth. And then they were enslaved by the gold. And, yeah.
They are the elements of Asaria. The magic which we have learned to manipulate are the gifts left behind from the ancients.
That's how the legend goes.
You are mistaken. They are not a legend.
Leanna looks uncertain while Zack scowls.
You still believe in those stories?
I believe in the research, and Elder Ism has accumulated plenty of it.
Then where have the elementals been all this time?
We all return our focus to the Elder.
I suppose I do have a few theories on that as well. But the elements are a lot trickier than temporal rifts. The story of the ancients is so old it predates our understanding of crystals and spheres. That's why most societies have forgotten about them and brushed them off as a legend. The people in this village, though, have not forgotten. When I arrived, I was purely focused on finding the fire temple for research purposes. But the longer I stayed, the more my focus strayed from the temporal rifts to the ancients themselves.
How can the elementals be harder to understand than the temporal rifts? Well, you're talking about the people who basically created the elements for the magic. I mean, that's basically talking about you're trying to understand why things were created. I mean, if you really want to go philosophical, I mean, why was a human only created with 2 arms? Isn't there a lot of times that if you just had a 3rd arm, you know, it would just be a lot easier to get things done, especially if you were holding 2 things together? I mean, you're basically trying to explain in a language that cannot, I'm not religious at all. Mind you, I do not follow any religion, which is why but I have read the Bible, I've read the Quran, and I've read the Torah. When you're dealing with you're trying to explain something in a brain. Think of how young we are. The human race has only been around for 5,000 years, and you're trying to explain the actions of potentially a being that's millions and millions of years old. Now, let's put that into perspective back into the game. You're trying to explain, they don't say how old the ancients are or the elementals are, but they could be millions and millions of years old, as then they created the magical spheres, right? So you're trying to basically comprehend what someone does with the mind of a child, with the mind of a baby, if you really think about that. So sometimes in the temporal rifts, they just can be explained as it's a force of a combination of the elements. From what we understand, he came through by a temporal rift, which was a spike of elemental energy. Now, they have ways of measuring elemental energy, hence the things on her wrist and that glass thing back at the academy. So they know enough to be able to measure how much energy something has. So there you go. The manipulator, it reads how much energy someone has. The scouters from Dragon Ball Z that break when they hit 9,000, or is it 9,001? Yeah, they break at 9,001. Because 9,001 is clearly over 9,000, right? But they have ways to measure the temporal energy. Because it's the same theory, it's the same process of measuring elemental energy. They just can't explain the ancients that have probably been millions of years prior to the humans that evolved here. But as I said, I am not religious at all. I've just studied a lot of religion. And the reason why I'm not religious is because I see things logically. And logic and emotion, sometimes they contradict each other. Especially when you read the Bible and you see all those different issues and contradictions in each other. You have to have faith to believe in something. No, you just have to stop saying that your God supports pedophilia. I should make my own religion. The religion of Kincha. Wait, we do have a religion of Kincha because I'm the nuclear missile goddess. The goddess of the nuke. I shall worship the goddess of the nuke. Okay, now, rant aside. I know, tangent. I know, but I like having talks like these.
If you believe that the cause of those random energy spikes are the result of temporal rifts, perhaps that is the link to the return of the elementals to Assyria.
So what does that mean exactly? He shakes his head.
It's hard to say. We don't know why they left in the first place. My guess is that something was keeping them occupied in the spirit world. Perhaps whatever that is was set free by the rifts.
So the rifts are like gates to the spirit world? And the elementals are using them to jump between? Amelia hangs onto Elder Isam's every word. Leanna absentmindedly fiddles with her manipulator, deep in thought. Only Zack seems skeptical of this conversation. I would argue the fact of other worlds because... Yes, let's talk about that one for a second. I know, tangent again, woo! Well, we did come from another world, but we also didn't have any elemental energy. If we were an elemental, yes, we could have the power to open up a gate. But then why didn't they, when we went into the capital city, why wasn't our energy redetected? Because if we're an elemental, shouldn't have been off the charge, off the scales? Or shouldn't we be, or shouldn't, after the portal closed, that's what I'm... Oh, you mean like a, where you basically you take, not so much switching positions, what about switching consciousnesses? This really sounds complicated and not something that... No, wait. You are right. Switching positions. Because when we came into this area of Haven Guard, we had our own clothes on from the other world. So yeah, you are right. It is like switching places. This sounds really complicated. But wait. What if it wasn't switching places? What if it was a summoning? Like we were summoned here, and the energy residue is from was from what someone did, and that's why we don't have the energy, but there was the energy residual of the area. Yeah, but yeah, let's resume. Let's resume. But we need to get back on track. How do I get home? To get back to the original topic on hand, let's get back to the game. Elder Isam nods.
Ah, the temporal rifts, yes.
How would one go about creating a rift?
Well, that will be difficult. You'll need an incredible amount of energy. More than any one human can create. The only places with that much concentration of energy is in the temples of the elementals.
You said that there was one in the village.
Yes, the fire temple is here in Embermist.
Great! My body grows warm as hope floods through my veins. This is good. I finally have a way home.
To be more precise, it's on the outskirts of the village, built on the side of the volcano, but it's not a far walk.
Then that's where we need to go.
Leanna pushes herself to her feet, and the rest of us do the same. As Elder Isam rises, his face falls.
Leaving so soon? I was hoping we'd have a longer chance to chat. I have so many questions about Illumia and the Academy. As you can imagine, one does not get a lot of news of the outside world here.
Perhaps upon our return.
Ah, yes, of course. Well, you best be on your way then.
Elder Isam, it was truly an honor to meet you.
Amelia's cheek flush as Elder Isam grins. She must really respect him. In that moment, I realize just how small and dainty she looks. I sometimes forget how young she is compared to the rest of us. Yes! She is our official lolly of the group. We all say our goodbyes and then exit the hut. Once outside, we scan the horizon, trying to orient ourselves all towards the volcano. 42,
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, but in Alabama, every girl is a legal lolly. Just think about that for a second, because Alabama. And Kiara Noor says, excuse me. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is the third girl. Girl number 3 in the group. I whirl around and come face to face with a woman wearing just enough fabric to cover her essentials and nothing more. Her long brown hair is tied up in a ponytail which falls down her neck and frames her very ample chest. Don't look at her boobs. The plot thickens. Who are you? A, B, or C? She embodies my dreams, just like every scantily clad video game character. My eyes are drawn towards her chest. Ah yes, this feels very familiar.
Distracted by something?
I snap out of my trance and notice her grinning, her hands on her hips. Huh? What? I feel the heat of someone's glaze. I glance over and see Leanna frowning deeply. When her gaze meets, she quickly looks away.
Who are you?
Zach steps in front of Amelia, who frowns and steps away. I guess he's taken this bodyguarding business very seriously. Leanna holds herself stiffly, ready to move if necessary. The woman salutes.
Car Noir, treasure hunter extraordinaire.
Jack narrows his eyes.
What do you want with us?
Well, I couldn't help but overhear that you're interested in the fire temple.
How did you hear us when we were inside?
She taps her nose knowingly.
I have very sensitive hearing.
I fail to understand how our interests are of relevance to you.
I was just getting to that. You see, I've come to offer an extension of friendship.
Both Leanna and Zach raise an eyebrow.
Or at least an extension of mutual benefit.
We can accept mutual benefit. We also accept friends with benefits and beneficial relationships. Okay.
It's true that the villagers maintain the fire temple, but from what I've discovered, they are unaware of the temple's secret passage. If you're interested in the energy of the temple, I can guarantee that's where you'll find it.
If the villagers don't know about the secret passage, how did you find it?
It's all a part of the treasure hunting gig. You have to be looking for it to find it.
Carr winks and gives us a thumbs up.
The best part is that I've already disarmed or made a note of most of the traps in there.
There are traps in this temple?
The temples are a sanctuary for the elementals, but any place that is easily accessible is sure to attract all types. There are measures set in place to protect the spirit from those who wish to harm it.
Like I said, I've disarmed most of the traps, but not all. There is one magical barrier at the end of the tunnel which I've not yet been able to pass. I don't have magic, but you do.
She gestures to Leanna and Amelia.
If you can magic that barrier away, then that's at least one step closer to finding your energy.
Zack crosses his arms and glares at Kara.
How does that benefit you?
She grins.
All I'm interested in are the artifacts and relics. From the sounds of it, you guys are more interested in something else, hence mutually beneficial. So, what do you think?
I look at the rest of the group. Wordlessly, we huddle to get closer together and whisper. I don't trust her. B, there's plenty of reasons for her to join. I can think of 2 of them. I can definitely think of 2 reasons for her to join. And if you don't get that reference, then I'm sorry, but you need to go back and get your perv certification back. I vote we let her join us.
If she's already marked the passageway and traps, then we can just follow her markings and break the barrier ourselves. I can't think of a reason why we would need to bring her along.
I can... There! Dear God. I'm so going to hell. I'm so going to hell. I can think of... I sneak another glance at Kara's chest and smirk.
I must concede that I am impressed by her resourcefulness. It is plainly evident that she is not a native to Ember Mist, which means she somehow discerned the location on her own.
That's a really good point. Leanna looks thoughtful.
As a treasure hunter, her tracking skills could come in handy in the future.
We all stare at Zack, but he shrugs.
Do what you want.
That sounds like a yes to me. Zack doesn't respond. He just fixes his steely gaze on me.
So does this mean we're agreed to join up with Kara?
We all nod.
Hi.
The Pongo sits in the middle of our circle and blinks happily. Where do you even go when you're in hiding?
Boy. Let's go tell Kara.
We turn around and Kara stands right behind Leanna, her face only inches away. Leanna lets out a startled gasp. Jeez, what is she, some kind of ninja? I would think she's a ninja. Do you think she's a ninja? I think she's a ninja. Kara rubs her hands excitedly.
All right, this will be fun.
Wait, we didn't give you our answer yet.
Oh, sorry.
She steps back and gestures to Leanna to continue. Leanna speaks awkwardly. I guess she feels a little shy saying what Kara somehow already knows.
Well, we decided to take you up on your offer.
Kara nods.
Excellent. Since we're going to be working together, first things first. You all know my name, but I don't know yours.
I'm Leanna.
Mage Knight from the guild?
She nods.
I am Amelia Estelle, a mage caster from the Mage Academy.
Kara blinks.
A student to become a mage caster? But you look just like a teenager.
Amelia cocks her head to the side.
It is natural that my physical appearance would represent my age.
Fascinating. She looks at Amelia with respect.
That is pretty impressive. Who's next?
She looks at Zack.
Zack.
She chuckles.
Very clearly a mercenary.
And her green eyes study me. And although she's very clearly examining me, I don't feel uncomfortable under her stare.
Now that that's out of the way,
Boy.
Kara steps back and views the Pongo by my feet.
you have a bongo! How cute!
She reaches down and pats him on the head. He beams at her touch.
And what's your name?
Hi.
She glances at the rest of us, but none of us make a move to answer.
Oh, is he not a part of your group?
He is. Sort of.
And you haven't named him yet?
Leanna and I shuffle uncomfortably. Zack remains unchanged while Amelia frowns.
A Pongo was a wild creature.
Kara straightens and pats Amelia on the head, much to her dismay.
If you say so. Okay, are we ready to get going?
We murmur our assent, and then Kara leads us out of the city. As we walk, another ominous rumble sends butterflies to my stomach. I can't shake off the feeling that we are literally walking into a fire. Well, this is a volcano, and we're going into the fire temple. So of course we're walking into fire! I glance at the others who seem unfazed. I guess it's just me. Pushing my insecurities down, I silently follow the group towards the temple. Just as Elder Isam noted, the temple is a short walk out of the village on a well-worn dirt path. The road is mostly empty, with one or two travelers coming back toward the village. The temple is an open structure with a roaring fire in the middle of the grand hall. High columns with flames carved into them hold up the building, adorning the wall stones with beautiful tile mosaics. There is one wall with some strange symbol scratched on them. They're very faded, and I have to squint to make it out. From what I can make out, 4 symbols surrounding a darkness in the square, with a line of fire enclosing the perimeter, trapping the darkness. Huh, I wonder what this is. Amelia glances over and then peers at the carving.
Those symbols represent each of the magical elements.
She points to each one.
There is fire, water, earth, and wind.
But where's heart? Isn't art an element? Isn't the heart an element? She then points to the center. Oh, the heart's in the center! Okay.
And that is shadow.
Oh. No! Mayonnaise isn't an instrument. Mayonnaise is a gender. Get your facts straight. I've never considered shadow an element before.
It is one of the elemental magics.
Kara, Zach, and Leanna have already moved on, so the rest of us hustle to catch up. Besides us, the only other people in the temple are the monks who care for it. They're dressed in woven red robes in the same open and loose style as the villagers from Embermist. Quietly, they shuffle back and forth, sweeping the floor or relighting any of the smaller fires which have burned low.
Hi.
The Pongo looks around in wonder and reverence. At the sight of the giant flame, he squeaks and hops up on me, claiming his spot on my shoulder. Kara bows briefly before the large flame and then leads us to the back of the chamber and stops in front of an empty wall.
We're here.
Zach sighs. Secret passage? Or maybe we made a mistake letting her join us. Kara might be a little out there, but I don't get the impression that she's stupid. There must be more to this wall than first meets the eye. Is there a mechanism hidden somewhere which triggers a doorway? Kara's eyes glitter.
Bingo!
With her gaze fixed on us, Kara pushes on a brick and a segment of the wall pushes in and swings open. She waves at the opening with a flourish.
Ta-da!
How do you know which brick to push in?
It usually depends, but in this case, there's one brick that sticks out slightly more than the others. If you aren't looking for it, you won't see it.
She heads through the opening and pushes the wall closed behind us. She then leads us down a winding stone stairway, which ends at the beginning of a narrow passage. We follow in behind her as she carefully picks her way down the hall. It's a very plain stone hallway with wall sconces lighting the way. I look down at my feet and notice a brick with an X marked on it. Do we step on it, or do we avoid it? I have a feeling this X didn't make its way onto the stone by itself. I better not touch it. Gingerly, I step around the brick. A few feet away, I spot another X. Is anyone else seeing these random X's? Kara glances back.
I should hope so. I left those there so as not to set off the same traps again.
Makes sense. We resume walking. The deeper we travel, the more X's I notice. Wow, there are a lot of traps in here. Zach pauses in front of a corridor where the walls are covered in X's.
Why are there so many X's on this wall?
Kara looks down the same passageway.
Oh, it's a two-part trap.
She points to a stone on the ground with the same X marking.
Basically, if you step on the ground stone, it triggers thick bars to shoot out from all the X's in the wall and block the path.
That doesn't sound too bad.
Only if you know how to limbo. The bars have something keeping them hot and will burn you if you touch it.
Okay, that sounds worse.
And you were able to cross that?
Kara winks.
I am very limber.
Yes, I am sure you are very limber. We would like to see some of your limber techniques later on tonight. I expected Zach to brush off her comment like he brushed off every other girl, but he actually looks impressed. Amelia looks between Zach and Kara.
Based on the dilation of Zach's pupils, it appears that Kara's flexibility is attractive to him.
Zach is taken aback. Thank you, Spock! Thank you for ruining the moment, Spock. I do appreciate it.
I was just thinking that it's a useful skill set to have.
Kara has a mischievous glint in her eyes.
Useful skill set to have. In what context?
Zach frowns.
For scouting and navigating, you've done a thorough job mapping this place out and marking the traps.
Leanna looks amused.
Zach, was that a compliment?
He glares at Leanna.
No, an observation.
Kara smiles playfully.
Then thank you for the observation.
Zach falls into silence before turning away. I think that's the most I've ever heard him talk in a 30-second span. We continue through the tunnels. Eventually, she stops in front of another wall of fire in the middle of the hall.
The barrier's here.
She gestures at the swirling metallic wall behind the well. The way it glitters as it wisps and curls almost looks like it's a fire. Leanna and Amelia step closer and put their hands in front of them before gingerly touching the barrier.
It's surprisingly solid for something that looks so gaseous. Maybe there's some wind magic interwoven with whatever other magic is here.
The Pongo hops forward with stars in his eyes.
Hi.
He dashes straight for the barrier.
Pongo, wait!
I stretch out my arm and race after him. Pongo! No! Instead of running into the wall, the Pongo passes straight through and out of sight. Why cruel world? How did he go through? Or stay calm? Leanna gasps and rushes to the wall.
Pongo? Oh no! What if something happens to him?
I step over and put a hand on her shoulder to calm her down. He's a scrappy and resourceful Pongo. I'm sure he'll be okay.
I suppose so.
Leanna bites her lip and stares anxiously at the barrier.
Pongo. Boy?
A blue head pops out of the barrier. What? He hops the rest of the way out.
Boy.
Leanna scoops him up in a hug.
Pongo, you're back safe. Boy.
After a second, the Pongo wiggles out of her arms and rushes back over to me. Leanna pouts, then refocuses on the barrier. Amelia places both her hands back on the barrier while Leanna holds out her manipulator.
Whatever is beyond this wall hosts a plethora of energy.
Leanna nods.
My manipulator confirms that. No wonder the Pongo ran in there.
Zack continues to hang back and observe, but Kara steps closer to the barrier.
But how did he even pass through?
Leanna shrugs. Amelia continues studying the wall, moving her hands up and down.
I do not recognize this magic.
She frowns, deeply disturbed.
Is there anything you can do to break it?
Let's see.
Leanna and Amelia put both their hands on the barrier, their manipulators glowing. They transmit pulses of magic, which disperse across the surface in a shimmering wave. I think they're trying to create stress fractures to crack the wall. After a few tries, Leanna sighs in frustration, then steps back.
Amelia, stand back.
She wordlessly obeys. Leanna gathers energy at her gauntlet, then strikes the barrier with an empowered strike. Suddenly, golden leathering forms on the barrier. Absolve your world to enter mine. What does that mean? No one answers. Amelia steps forward and focuses on the well of flickering flame.
If I am interpreting this message correctly, we must part with our most precious possession, our world, and throw it in the fire.
Leanna nods thoughtfully.
Kind of like we're freeing ourselves.
Kara's face drains of color and she clutches at her pack.
Are you sure?
Yes.
We stand awkwardly until Leanna clears her throat.
If that's what we need to do, then it seems easy enough. I'll go first.
Okay, so we do. Okay, go ahead, or please let me go first. We're doing this for me, I should be the one to go first. Leanna blinks, but I step up to the fire before she can object. What do I choose? My waifu, Pongo, playing cards, or wallet? I fish inside my pockets and grab my playing cards. I've had a lot of good memories with these cards. They help me break the ice with every move I make. I know I can count on them whenever the words fail me. Reluctantly, I toss them into the fire and watch the flames lap it up. Then I steel my resolve and step forward. Just as I reach the barrier, I slam painfully into it. Ow! Well, that didn't work.
You sure messed that up.
Can I do it again? Kara shrugs.
Normally you only get one chance for these things, but it's not like you've got anything to lose by trying again.
Wallet, Pongo, or my waifu? I fish in my pockets and grab my wallet. My entire identity is in here. My license, student ID, and credit cards. The thought of parting with it made my chest hurt. Reluctantly, I toss it into the fire and watch the flames lap it up. Then I steel my resolve and slowly step forward. As I cross through, I feel the tingle of energy and hear the crackle of electricity. There's a bright light blinding my vision, and I have a flashback of my crossing to Terra. My foot lands on solid ground. I pass through the barrier unharmed. Gradually, my eyes adjust to the dim light, and I see that I'm in a cozy room with a hot babe. In the middle of the room is a fox, who swishes his tail as it absorbs me. Beside it is a beautiful woman with flaming red hair, Her delicate hands rest atop the fox's head. Yeah, at least we got good music to go with this. As I look her over, her gaze lands on me. Who are you? The woman blinks at me, then smiles. For a second, I think I see the flames lighting the room flicker and a warmth permeating my body. It's pleasant, like an embrace. Although she holds my gaze, she doesn't speak. How did you get in here? Again, she remains silent, but this time she takes a step closer.
Who are you talking to?
Huh? I peek behind the woman and see Zack standing with an eyebrow raised and his arms crossed. The rest of my companions pause in their inspection of the room and stare at me. Kara stands beside an altar where Amelia and Leanna eye, both kneeling by the fox. The fox accepts their attention, rhythmically swishing its tail, but otherwise makes no move to respond. Instead, it fixes its attention on me.
Are you talking to the fox?
No. A, the woman between me and you? B, the super hot chick? Or C, I don't think they can see her. I fall silent as the group casts me worried glances.
Who exactly are you seeing?
There's a woman dressed in red and she's kind of flamey, and she's standing right there with her pet fox. Leanna looks towards the fox, but her eyes gaze right over the woman. She furrows her brows, concerned.
Okay.
Her voice is gentle, like she doesn't want to spook me. None of you guys can see her? The group collectively shakes their heads. I don't know why you guys can see her, but I promise you, she's there.
Boy.
The Pongo hops out from behind my legs. He first examines the woman with partial interest, then he stares in wonder at the fox.
Boy?
The fox cocks his head to the side and observes the Pongo. The Pongo perks up and cautiously bounces forward. He pauses right before the fox. The fox's nose wiggles as it sniffs at the Pongo. Then it swishes its tail and the Pongo squeaks before running back behind my legs.
Boy.
Wait, do you see her too?
Boy.
The woman giggles at the Pongo, then gently pats his head. He shivers happily at her touch. Then she straightens up and takes a step closer. Her feet don't touch the ground, and her skirt floats ethereally behind her. Instinctively, I back away.
What's going on?
She's getting closer, a lot closer. She pauses once she draws near and touches her palm to my forehead. A pulse of warmth flows through me before she retracts her hand. As if something inside me clicked open, I feel invigorated with restored strength. The stronger I feel, the more translucent the woman becomes. Soon she disappears. The Pongo stares at me with renewed interest. It reminds me of that look. It reminds me of that same look he gave me when we first met. He licks his lips. Don't even think about it.
Boy.
The Pongo pouts and lets out a sad sigh. Kara waves her hands in front of my face.
Hey, are you okay? You kind of zoned out there for a second.
I think I'm fine.
What happened?
I'm not too sure.
Where's the woman now?
Actually, she's gone. Amelia reacts to my words by playing with her bracelets. She holds her manipulators up to me.
Curious. I may have a theory.
What is it?
All the energy which had accumulated here has now gathered within you.
I blink as it takes me a minute to register what she just said. Wait, I absorbed the energy? That can't be right.
As I mentioned, it is merely a theory.
Leanna looks intrigued.
How is that possible?
No, we're not opages yet. We just have fire. I don't know. I felt it after she touched me. That's going in the quote book. Leanna's eyes widen.
I wouldn't phrase it like that.
Not in a weird way. She just touched my forehead and suddenly I felt a rush of energy. Amelia stares hard at me. Why are you looking at me like that?
I am merely anticipating the imminent reaction.
Reaction to what?
The high concentration of energy you just absorbed. The human body was not meant to process such large quantities of energy. At least, that has certainly been the trend with someone from Terra.
Amelia's gaze bores into me as she emphasizes the word Terra. Then she looks back down at her manipulator.
Although, 2 minutes have passed, and there seems to be no sign of an adverse reaction.
Why does she sound so disappointed? Suddenly, Kara squeals as she gingerly picks up a rusty coin out of the remains of a leather satchel.
This is a genuine Vestin coin!
Zack glances at the coin and folds his arms, clearly unimpressed.
How much could a rusted out dated coin be worth?
About a few hundred gold pieces.
Zack's demeanor instantly changes.
You don't say.
Kara smoothly pockets the satchel as Zack covertly searches the room. As Kara finishes up her inspection of the room, Leanna looks around.
Well, since we found what we came for, we should head back.
Kara nods and leads the way out. As we leave the room, we notice the fire which had previously glowed in front of the barrier is now gone, but all of our items are still intact. Hey, nothing was burned in here.
Curious. Then it can be assumed that the purpose of this trial was not to destroy our possessions, but to test our willingness to sacrifice.
Kara happily scoops out her coin purse.
I'm not complaining.
Leanna smiles in relief as she reaches in and quickly collects what looks like a ring attached to a thin chain.
Let's keep going.
The rest of us snatch up our items and continue back out of the corridor. The trek out of the temple is a lot faster and easier than the trek in, mostly because there are no more obstacles to stop us. We pop out of the same hidden wall which we entered, just as before, the main ceremonial hall is empty. We wave goodbye to the couple of monks sweeping the entryway, and then begin the walk back to the village. So, ask Kara who the Vestians were, ask Amelia what the theory about the mysterious woman is, or I don't feel like talking. I fall in step with Kara. Yep, A, B, and C. So who exactly were the Vestians?
They were the original tribe of Ember Mist, and the initial keepers of the Fire Temple.
Did they build the temple? She shrugs.
It depends on who you ask. Some experts believe they did. Others think the temple was already there by the time the Vestians came about.
Interesting. Now I'm curious. How did you get into treasure hunting? She pauses just a little too long before flashing me her usual tearful grin.
I just sort of fell into it, honestly. Treasure hunting naturally fit into my nomadic lifestyle.
Where did you learn all the history to even identify relics?
You'd be surprised how much you pick up along the way, especially after you realize what a lucrative business this can be.
So you're just in it for the money?
I didn't say that. I'll admit that at first I was just in it for the money. But the more I learned about the ancient people of Asaria, the more invested I became in the history of each relic I found. I started to find myself daydreaming about who might have used the items I found. What kind of person were they? Did they cherish this item, or was it just another piece of their ever-growing collection of stuff?
That's a cool way of thinking, A. B. You're more than meets the eye. Or C. That seems like a foolish way of thinking. That's actually kind of nice. I had no idea Kara had this side to her. That's surprisingly deep. Kara raises an eyebrow.
I'm full of layers.
I'm sure you are full of layers. And I just want to peel them all off. I look up at her and down and take in her barely there attire. Not from what I can see. Oh, he went there. She smirks.
Metaphorically speaking.
Ah, right. Okay. Next, ask Amelia what her theory about the mysterious woman is, or B, I don't really feel like talking. We gonna talk to the Vulcan? We gonna bother Miss Vulcan? Okay. I approach Amelia. Mr. Spock, that theory that you mentioned in the temple about the woman, what was it? Spock glances at me.
Given the location and circumstances previously described by Alderism, my estimation is that the unknown woman you encountered was a projected image of the fire elemental. Of course, as I could not observe her myself, I cannot be certain.
That's fascinating. Do you know what do you think that's why she wouldn't talk back? Also, why wouldn't she just show up in person?
The amount of energy needed to sustain just an appearance of the elemental would have drained the temple completely. There would have been no energy left for her to give to you.
Is that why she disappeared right after?
The depletion of energy in the temple would have meant she'd no longer be sustained in this world.
Amelia looks thoughtful.
Although, it is quite unusual that she would have you absorb the energy to begin with.
I see. I had no feeling that was her, eh? No wonder she was hot? Or C, she actually exists. Gonna go with B. That explains why she was so hot. Amelia looks at me curiously.
I assume, as the elemental of fire, it would only be appropriate that her being is imbued with the essence of her element. Naturally, that must mean her touch was hotter than average.
It certainly got the blood rushing, if you know what I mean. She stares straight at me.
I do not. Please elaborate.
This is awkward. Just that when she touched me, suddenly all that energy rusted and definitely got the adrenaline going.
Yes, I suppose that would happen.
She looks thoughtful.
Still, it is quite perplexing that she would only reveal herself to you.
It's not just me, the Pongo saw her too, I think. He really didn't make it clear as if he was seeing her or just the fox thing.
The Guardian.
Huh?
The fox would be the guardian of the fire temple. Each temple has its own guardian who protects it.
Oh, so how come the Guardian didn't attack us for breaking into the temple?
We did not break in. The guardian enforces the trial in the temple. Only those who are able to complete the trials are welcome into the temple.
In this case, that magical fire we had to put our stuff in? Amelia nods, still deep in thought. Are you still trying to figure out why no one else could see the elemental? She nods again. Any theories?
As of now, I do not have one, but perhaps after some further research.
Her voice trails off as she falls back into deep thought. Kar, Zack, and Amelia lead the way back to Amber Mist while I lag behind. The Pongo follows on my heels. Leanna notices my absence and falls into step with me. She pats the Pongo, who ignores her, still too focused on the energy around me. Leanna pouts, then shakes away from the Pongo's disregardance of her and focuses her attention on me.
Something on your mind?
I drop my voice low so the others can't hear me. Now that I've collected the energy from the temple, that means I can try to create a temporal rift and go back home, right? Kara stops and whirls around to face us. Zack and Amelia stop with her.
Pardon me, you were speaking very softly and it was a little hard to hear, but it sounded like you just said you need to open a temporal rift to go back home? But that can't be right, can it?
Jesus, woman has some supersonic hearing. I glance at Liana, who looks alarmed. About that. Kara's smile falters of my hesitance, but Amelia looks excited.
I knew it. My hypothesis is correct.
Hypothesis? What hypothesis?
My hypothesis that he is from a parallel world.
Liana's eyes grow wide and forces a panicked smile.
I think all this parallel world and temporal rift talk has been getting to you. I mean, Elder Isum said it's impossible.
He has already admitted it.
What? Liana and I have been careful not to say anything. When?
The day of our acquaintance.
I rack my brain, but I don't remember bringing that up around Amelia.
You sought out Professor Xavier's guidance, and after he imparted his advice, you...
You guys can hear me, right? But for some odd reason, it's not getting my stream signal. Okay, I'm surprised that I have that many subscribers. I don't have that many subscribers. Give me a minute. Let me see what's going on here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Sorry. Gomen. I got it working. I got it back working. Let me get back into the game. Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Kincha is being awesome, but the internet sucks because everything is on fire. Let's do a load quickly.
You sought out Professor Xavier's guidance, and after he imparted his advice, you and Leanna had a brief discussion in which you mentioned that what he had suggested was exactly what happened to you. Thus began my hypothesis that you arrived from a parallel world.
Leanna looks at me, unsure how to react. Continue to deny it? Do we come clean? Or, what's up with all these eavesdroppers? A, B, or C, guys? We got one for C. We got one C. Anyone else? Come on, guys. There are like 5 people in there. We can't just have one letter. Okay. So let's do C. What's up with all these eavesdroppers? Does nobody understand the word privacy around here? Y'all have a problem with eavesdropping.
It's not eavesdropping if you're speaking loud enough for me to hear.
Do not change the subject at hand.
Leanna sighs.
She already knows.
Not from Terra, huh?
Zach looks up and down and nods to himself.
That's a lot better than the alternative.
What's the alternative?
That you might be unique.
Zach!
He shrugs.
He hasn't heard of a lot of things everyone in his area would know about, like the elementals.
I thought you didn't believe in the elementals.
I don't, but I still know of them. At least if he's from another world, that explains why he didn't know these things.
Kara looks skeptical.
How did he get here?
There have been unexplainably high concentrations of energy popping up throughout Isaria, and he happened to show up at one of those areas. We went to the Mage Academy to get some answers, and that's how we came up with the possibility that the high energy readings were temporal rifts, and somehow he had traveled through one. Why or how those rifts were even opened, we still don't know.
But if they're the only way for me to get back home, then I have to try to open one. Kara shrugs.
Let's just make sure you attempt to open one far away from where I'm standing.
That might be tricky considering no one knows how to open one. We may need to talk to Elder Issam.
That won't be necessary. I know how to do so already.
We all stare at her. How do you know that?
The directions are located in Elder Issam's old research notes, which I had gathered from the Academy. The spell itself is a simple conjuration, which even an amateur could do.
An amateur can open a temple rift, then why isn't everyone doing it?
The impossibility of the spell comes from the fact that the human body cannot manipulate the amount of energy needed for it.
She pauses, then points to me.
He may be an exception.
I squirm slightly as their gazes fall on me.
Given that you have absorbed energy directly from the temple, which should also be an impossibility, I must assume that there is something within you which can possess the high amount of magic without suffering consequences. Perhaps it is a skill which you acquired from your world.
My world doesn't have magic. Amelia blinks.
Regardless, only a short amount of time has passed. There is plenty of time for you to still
Yes, we are a he.
combust.
And our name is Kevin, because Kevin's an asshole. Fuck you, Kevin. A wave of unease makes my stomach queasy. Maybe I should open up this rift now before that has a chance to happen? Amelia grins with excitement.
I concur with that suggestion.
That may be the best now that you have the magic.
Zach shrugs, and Kara takes a look at our open surroundings.
Maybe we should first look for a spot with a bit more cover. We don't want to be opening up rifts on an open pathway.
Good point.
There was some tree cover towards the west.
We mumble our affirmations and follow Zach towards the trees. We settle into the grove of trees. Both Leanna and Amelia stand on the other side of me. Zach selects a tree far enough away to not be affected by any stray magic, but close enough to get a good view of what's going on. Kara, on the other hand, hangs back towards the outskirts of the trees. Zach looks back at her, an amused smile on his lips.
You'll miss the show from back there. You sure you don't want to come any closer?
Kara's voice is distant.
Yep.
There's a bit of movement as she takes another step back behind a tree. A, is she okay? B, scoot yourself closer to her, or C, let her be. I guess the whole magic portal business makes her nervous. It's understandable that she's not accustomed to magic like Leanna or Amelia. Amelia studies the notes, then nods to herself and snaps the book shut.
The casting is quite simple. It is the same technique as any other cast.
Leanna looks at me.
Are you ready?
I nod. Later's Rye. Don't be a pleb now, you hear? Amelia glances at my stance, then frowns.
Your stance is incorrect. Straighten your spine.
I lengthen my spine and stand as straight as I can.
Now you are too tense. Keep yourself relaxed, but do not slump.
Okay. I release some of the tension in my back. She's about to speak again, but Leanna gently pulls Amelia to the side.
Okay, I think he gets it.
She steps in front of me and gives me an encouraging smile.
Your stance is fine. Just remember to raise your arms in front of you.
I do, she says, and she nods.
Now, the actual casting part is gonna sound tricky. You'll need to focus your mind on the spell you want to cast.
So I should just think about temporal rifts?
Yes, but you need to connect that thought with the magical energy. Clear your mind of every thought.
I close my eyes and push away all my doubts and confusion and focus on Leanna's voice.
Now, think about the rift that you wish to create.
I imagine tearing a hole in the fabric of reality. I don't actually know what a rift will look like or feel like. All I remember is a bright light. Should I focus on that light?
At the same time, sense for the magic within you.
I try to sense for any kind of magic, but nothing feels out of the ordinary. How do I know where the magic is?
It'll feel like a tendril or willing warmth. When you find it, reach out for it and grab hold. The magic is eager to be used and will latch on.
Okay. A, focus on what Leanna says. B, I wish women were more like my magic. Or C, this is stupid. This is so abstract, but I know I can do it. I just have to focus. I turn within and regulate my breathing. This sounds very familiar to meditation, or perhaps using the same technique will yield successes. As my breathing becomes slow and steady, I open up my senses for any indication of another presence.
Once you find the magic, connect your thoughts of the rift with the magic, and then channel both the magic and the thoughts through your hands to cast it in the open.
I continue sensing, hoping to find another hint of warmth, but how do I know if it's within my own warmth or the magic? Sweat beads on my temple as I strain to cast, but nothing happens. Eventually, my arms grow weary and my mind is exhausted. I decompress with a sigh. It didn't work.
It's okay, we can try again. People aren't usually able to cast on their first try.
I mentally groan. The idea of doing all this again does not thrill me. There must be still something I'm missing.
It just takes some getting used to. Plus, you're trying to cast without a manipulator.
Oh yeah, both you and Amelia use manipulators to cast. Maybe that's why I wasn't able to do it.
Well, the manipulator's function is to house the energy source for us to cast with. Technically, because you already have the energy within you, you shouldn't need a manipulator.
Oh.
But this is all theory anyway. It may be easier trying to cast using a crystal, especially for a first-time caster.
Regardless, there could be a multitude of factors for why this attempt was not successful. One for which could be as simple as the fact that you still did not possess enough energy to open the rift.
Shouldn't the temple have had enough?
Theoretically, perhaps, but a significant portion of the energy was already being used to sustain the elemental's image. She was able to transfer what was left of the energy to you, which from my readings was only 20% of the total energy in the temple when we started.
Suddenly, Kara is standing right beside us, as cheerful as ever.
That sounds like you all still need to explore some more temples.
I jump at her presence. Even Leanna and Amelia seem surprised to see her so close. Only Zack is unaffected. How did you get here so fast? She grins at me.
Am I wrong?
The Pongo jumps out of Kara's arms and hops into mine.
Boy!
I place him back onto the ground where he nuzzles my feet, licking the air around it.
So it could be that he doesn't know how to cast, or that he doesn't have enough energy.
Sure, but what does that mean for you all in terms of next steps? Are you going to hang out in Ember Mist until he learns how to cast?
It could take him weeks before he can even cast the simplest of spells. That is quite a long time to rely on someone else's hospitality.
It sounds like it would still be in your best interest to visit at least one more temple just to be sure you have enough energy. You can teach him how to cast on the way, so by the time he gets there, he'll be ready to go.
Leanna looks thoughtful.
That does seem like the better option than the alternative.
If it's the fastest way to get me back home, then I'm not opposed to having all our bases covered. Amelia nods.
That is the most efficient course of action. If we can mitigate any uncertain factors, then we can pinpoint where the weakness is and adjust accordingly for a successful cast. The research this will provide will be very informative.
It is very fascinating, isn't it? Hearing Amelia's affirmation, Zack shrugs.
Since I'm here to protect Amelia, I go where she goes.
Kara smiles broadly and slings her arm around Zack and Amelia, much to their dismay.
Great. Then our arrangement is still on.
Hey!
Zack moves out of Kara's grasp. She smirks.
Most men would be thrilled to have a pretty woman hug them. Right, Amelia?
That is correct. A healthy physique is inherently attractive for potential mates.
I just love how forward she is. She does have no filter. She says, Kara, let's go. And starts to lead the way out of the forest.
We should spend the night in Ember Mist. We can plan our next steps there.
Once we are in agreement, we follow Kara back to Ember Mist. Upon arriving, we head to the inn.
We can spend the night here. I'll meet you back down in the lobby in a few minutes.
She ventures upstairs while we secure 2 rooms with the innkeeper. Now, one thing is they're using a little hut as an inn, but there's like 1 room. Amelia is this girl who is very young, but she's like a savant when it comes to magic. She's extremely young, but she's extremely smart, and it gets her into trouble where people are overly cautious with her. She ventures upstairs. Yes, she's Vulcan. And that's what's so fascinating about her. Ba-dunch. She ventures upstairs while we secure 2 rooms with the innkeeper. As we receive our keys, Amelia excuses herself.
I wish to seek an audience with Elder Isum and continue our discussion.
The
I would
thing
be
about
remiss to
her
let
being
such an
Vulcan.
opportunity pass.
I'm sorry. Let me replay that. I can't. The joke about her being a Vulcan is the way she speaks. If you watch Star Trek and you know Mr. Spock and you know how he speaks, yeah, it's like a mirrored image. He seems like a good guy, but maybe we keep the fact that I'm not from here a secret.
Yes, that is something in which we are in agreement.
Oh, okay. She nods and leaves the inn. The decor of the inn is very similar to Elder Isum's hut. Pillows and rugs line the ground as a few people sit cross-legs in front of a fire. A few tables line the other side of the lobby, all of which are empty. In fact, aside from the couple of people chatting by the fire, this place is very empty. Once I sit down, I feel fatigue pass over me, but I try to shake it off. I guess they don't see too many visitors here.
For a city that's supposed to be so secret, that's not surprising. It's more surprising that they have an inn.
I nod and stifle a yawn. We sit at a table as Zach orders us dinner. After a few minutes, Kara returns.
Where's Amelia?
She went to speak with Elder Isam. She nods. My eyelids droop and I'm stifling yawns every few minutes. My limbs feel like leaded weights and it's taken all my effort to sit upright. After I let out a wide yawn, Liana glances over me. Question is, how do I feel about Star Trek Voyager? It had its moments. I know a lot of people didn't really care for it, but it had its, but it was really unique.
Maybe you should go to bed. We're winding down anyway, so it'd be a good idea to get some rest.
Who, Janeway's voice? Janeway, if I'm not mistaken, in an interview, didn't she say that she was a real heavy smoker? And that's why her voice was so raspy. But on the opposite side of that spectrum, you should go on YouTube, and there they chose another lady from Canada who was interviewed during the same time as Janeway. Janeway first had the audition. Everyone liked her, but the directors and producers didn't like her, so they got someone else. And none of the cast and crew liked the other monotone captain. And they decided, well, let's call back Kate. And they stuck with Kate. I nod blearily. That sounds really good right now. I guess absorbing all that energy really takes it out of you, huh? Leanna smiles at my joke.
It would seem so.
Regardless, I'm grateful for the excuse to leave. I trot upstairs and fumble with the key before opening the door. Then I fall onto one of the twin cots and pass out as soon as my head hits the pillow. And this is the end of the chapter. We've been going strong for a good 2 hours and 16 minutes. So you know what? I think this is a good break. My voice is starting to strain, and I'm starting to get sleepy myself. So we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow about the same time, about 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, for part 4, which will also be Crystalline. And remember, invite your friends, go on your Discord, say, hey, this awesome person is streaming an awesome game with great music, great video, and has great pictures, and the babes are super hot. So yeah, feel free to tell your Discords to get the hell over here, because the more viewers that we get, the more unique choices. The way we're playing it is the stream chooses the way the storyline goes, so it can become a real interesting storyline when the stream is doing it. I know. English, do I speak it? No. So, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Night, everyone.